There is a type of person that most people underestimate the first time they meet them. They are not loud. They do not take up the most space in a room, or dominate conversations, or make sure everyone knows what they are capable of. They carry themselves with a kind of stillness that reads, to the untrained eye, as ordinary, as unassuming, as someone who can probably be overlooked without much consequence. And then something happens. A crisis. A moment of genuine difficulty. A situation that requires someone to hold things together when everything is falling apart. And suddenly the person everyone almost missed is the one the room is watching. Not because they performed strength, because the strength was simply there, quietly, the whole time. Psychologists have begun paying serious attention to this profile, to the specific constellation of traits that appears in people whose capacity runs far deeper than their surface suggests. People who have been shaped not by easy circumstances, but by the kind of repeated difficulty that either breaks a person or produces something that ordinary living simply cannot replicate. What the research reveals is that quiet power is not an accident of personality. It is a specific psychological architecture built by specific experiences. And if you carry it, you have almost certainly spent a significant portion of your life not knowing that what you were doing was extraordinary. The first sign is that you handle the worst moments with a composure that startles the people around you. When something genuinely terrible happens, when the situation becomes the kind of difficulty that most people have no framework for, something in you goes very still, very clear. Not because you are unaffected, but because your nervous system has learned, through real experience, that panic is a luxury you could not always afford. Researchers studying stress responses in individuals who navigated significant early adversity have identified what they call stress inoculation, a conditioning of the nervous system that produces measurably better regulation under high-stakes conditions. Your calm in a crisis is not a personality trait. It is a nervous system that has been trained by terrain most people never had to cross. The second sign is that you carry pain without making it other people's problem. When something is hurting you, the default is inward. You process privately. You manage your own weight. You show up for the people around you as fully as you can manage, even when something inside you is working through something significant. This is sometimes described from the outside as being closed off or hard to read. What it actually is a person who learned that their emotional needs were not always safe to voice, and who developed, in response, an extraordinary capacity for internal processing. You are not withholding. You are doing something genuinely difficult alone that most people do not do quietly. The third sign is that people come to you with the things they cannot take anywhere else. Not the surface problems, the real ones. The ones they have not said out loud to anyone. There is something in how you receive people, in the quality of your attention, and the absence of judgment, and the sense that what they bring will be held carefully, that creates a kind of safety others feel before they can explain why. This is not something you were trained to do. It is something that developed in you because you know, at a level that goes below the cognitive level, what it costs to carry something alone, and so you make room, and people feel the room, and they move toward it. The fourth sign is that your loyalty, once given, is one of the most reliable things in a person's life. You do not commit casually. Your threshold for trust is higher than average, and the process of meeting it is slow. But once someone has met it, once someone has demonstrated through time and consistency that they are genuinely safe, what you offer them is something most people never find in another person. A presence that does not waver when things become difficult. A reliability that is not contingent on convenience. A kind of showing up that has nothing to do with what you are getting from the arrangement, and everything to do with what you decided this person means to you. People who have experienced your loyalty do not forget it, because they know, even if they cannot articulate how, that what they received was rare. The fifth sign is that you have rebuilt yourself more than once, not dramatically, not with announcements or visible transformation, quietly, from the inside. You have been in places that required you to find something to stand on when the ground was gone, and you found it, not because you knew you would, but because there was no alternative, and you were not done yet. The research on post-traumatic growth, developed by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun, identifies a specific pattern in people who navigate genuine adversity, not just recovery. Genuine reconfiguration. A restructuring of values and priorities and self-understanding that produces not the person who existed before the difficulty, but someone more considered, more grounded, more clear about what actually matters. You have done this work, probably without calling it that. If something in this is finding a part of you that has rarely been accurately described, this channel is where you belong. We take the psychological profiles that most content never examines, and we give them the precision they deserve. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the signs that follow go into the territory that is furthest from the surface and closest to the core of what quiet power actually is. The sixth sign is that you do not need external validation to know your own worth. This does not mean you are indifferent to recognition. It means that your fundamental sense of yourself is not contingent on receiving it. You developed an internal reference point for your own value at a time when the external environment was not reliably providing one. And that internal reference, built through difficulty rather than given by circumstance, is more durable than the kind that requires constant reinforcement from outside. You can be unseen and still know what you are. You can be underestimated and not be moved to perform for the people doing the underestimating. This groundedness, this capacity to remain yourself regardless of whether the room is registering you accurately, is one of the rarest things a person can have. The seventh sign is that you feel things at a depth that your exterior rarely betrays. Music finds something in you that it doesn't find in most people. Beauty moves you, not decoratively, but genuinely, in a way that sometimes catches you off guard. Injustice does not just trouble you intellectually. It lands in your body. A small act of genuine kindness from a stranger can reach somewhere that you do not often let things reach. This emotional depth is neurological. The amygdala, sensitized through repeated emotional activation over time, processes experience at a higher resolution than average. You are not feeling more than is appropriate. You are feeling at the frequency that the world actually operates at, a frequency that most people have learned to filter out. The intensity is not fragility. It is the exact opposite. The eighth sign is that you are extraordinarily resourceful in conditions that would paralyze most people. When options are limited, when resources are scarce, when the situation does not offer the conditions most people require before they can begin, you find a way anyway, not dramatically, practically. You look at what is available, and you build from it. This resourcefulness was not a choice initially, it was a necessity. The environment did not always provide what was needed, and so the capacity to work with what was there, rather than waiting for what was absent, became the default mode. And that capacity, once built, does not go away when circumstances improve. It simply becomes the way you approach problems, quietly, efficiently, without making much of it. The ninth sign is that your silence is a choice rather than an absence. When you are quiet in a situation, when you are observing rather than speaking, when you hold back the response that would be easy to give in favor of the one that would be more true, it is not because nothing is happening. It is because a great deal is happening, and you have learned the discipline of not releasing it before it is ready. The words you eventually produce, when you produce them, carry weight precisely because of this, because they were not the first thing available but the most considered thing possible. People who know you well know this about your silence. They have learned to pay attention when you finally speak, because they have learned that what comes out of the quiet is almost always worth waiting for. And the 10th sign, the one that holds all the others in place, is that you have never confused being underestimated with being small. People have misjudged you. They have taken your quietness for passivity, and your gentleness for weakness, and your patience for an absence of expectation. They have made assumptions about what you were capable of, and what you would tolerate, and how you would respond when pushed past a certain point. And the moment they discovered how wrong they were, something shifted in how they saw you, not because you performed strength for them, because the strength was simply revealed by the situation, quietly, precisely, without drama, exactly the way it has always operated. Here is what psychology ultimately wants to say about people who carry this profile. Quiet power is not a lesser version of visible power. It is a different kind entirely. And in many respects, it is the more durable kind, because it was not constructed for an audience. It was built by necessity, in private, through circumstances that required it. And what is built that way does not depend on being seen to remain standing. You have been shaped by things that were genuinely difficult, and the shaping produced something that the people who built the psychology of resilience and strength and depth of character would recognize immediately, even if the room you just walked into has not yet. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.